Join the conversation
with Richard Dean, Brandy Scott and Tom Urquhart.
You're listening to The Business Breakfast on Dubai Eye on One.
Where we are talking property this morning. An email that bounced into my inbox yesterday and certainly got me and a couple of others talking because it had this headline: Allsopp and Allsopp report a rise in landlords receiving their asking price in 2021. They are talking about rent, and they say that their own internal data does show a slight rental price increase, especially in higher end properties. And there we were thinking that tenants were holding all the cards at the moment. We are joined on the line now by Lewis Allsopp, CEO of Allsopp and Allsopp. Lewis, good morning.
Good morning. How are you? Okay?
I'm good, mate. Explain yourself, please. There's a lot of scepticism around this.
Oh, I love when you say that. I chuckled to myself on the radio when you said, oh, come on, I have to defend myself for 6 minutes. The property market, it's, like you said it before, it's unprecedented if you'd gone back a year ago that this would be happening. But we've seen it with property prices happen, and it's happened for the last 6 months or so. And the drag on now is the rental market. And you know, I was doing a bit of research before the call, just looking at what live data is in the market. And for anyone that's really interested, if you're trying to rent a house at the moment as a tenant, it is really difficult. The cards have completely turned in the favour of the owners. I mean, there's 9 properties for rent in Victory Heights at the moment, 7 in Jumeirah Golf Estates, 25 Palm Villas, 23 Meadows Villas. That's not Allsopp and Allsopp. That's the whole of Dubai, which is absolutely frightening numbers. And that data is sponsored by Houser.com, the number 1 property portal in Dubai, owned by the property brokers.
Okay, so you said houses there, Lewis. Is that an important differentiation?
Houser is owned by...
No, houses. Houses, Lewis, villas.
Sorry, houses, yes. So the prominent factor in it is it's houses. There's still a lot of activity happening in apartments, but houses themselves are renting a lot quicker and a lot faster, and there's a lot more demand in the villa aspect than the apartments. Yeah, so they're still trading the apartments.
Yeah, I'm just looking actually at the apartments where I live, which I know the prices for best. I could still get a 2-bedroom now for what I was paying for a 1-bedroom last year. Tell me, what are you putting the rise in the villa rents down to? And can you put a percentage on it for us? I do realise that we've got wildly different areas throughout Dubai.
Yeah, I mean, look, when we talk about Dubai now, I try and get into people's heads. You've got to do it community, because you can go far out and nothing happens. You can go central and think, you know, the market's crazy. So they all have their different markets. But how's the best way to describe it? I mean, there's just people a year ago, really, is when lockdown happened. So a lot of people were really fearing for their jobs, and, you know, their wages may have been dropped. And the first thing that people do is look at where they're staying. Can they stay where they are? So a lot of people maybe froze their life decisions based on what they were doing. And fast forward a year forward, people are now saying, hang on a minute, I don't really want to be where I was 6 months ago, a year ago. My tenancy is now expiring. So that frozen market has really reactivated. And, you know, the common consensus, a lot of people want to be in a villa now.
Lewis, how much is it down to the fact that villa prices last year absolutely plummeted? People, I mean, I talk to strangers. Everyone I saw moving in and out of my neighbourhood, I basically quizzed over the last 12 months. There are a lot of people who were moving from 2 or 3 bedroom apartments into villas because they could get them for the same price, and in some cases even lower. So when we talk about prices going up, are we talking from a ridiculously low base?
Not particularly a crazily low base, but I mean, you got to take into account you can still get an apartment in the Greens for like 45,000 dirhams for 1 bed and 60 for a 2-bed. So if you're looking at villas we're looking at, which is the ranches, whether that's Jumeirah Golf Estates, the Springs, you're talking 130, 140, 150. So I think a lot of it really is there's just not a lot of stock, and you know it's a basic game of supply and demand. You've got to think about this. If you look at the key areas, the areas that I talk about, the ranches, Springs, there's no new launches. There's no new handovers. People keep talking about this oversupply. I said it in October last year when we were on the radio talking about it. There is no oversupply here. It's the fact that no new launches and handovers can happen in the Springs, Meadows, Lakes. So there is only limited supply, and the population is increasing. So it's a supply and demand game. The favour is now heavily swinged in the landlord's favour, where some of them are even getting 1 checks, which is crazy.
Are we seeing landlords hold back, or have we seen over the last year landlords hold back from the rental market completely, waiting for rents to rise rather than get locked in for a year?
I think that the main landlords themselves had a tenant in there, and they were just happy to have a tenant. There's not many landlords that I know of that are happy to keep their property empty, because obviously every month that goes by it's empty, you're losing a month's rent. So I just think what's happened is that the tenants are moving on, and that's the cycle. And when they're moving on, they're getting comparative prices for what's renting in the market, and they're happy. It's the first time in a long time landlords happy. And this is the story that a lot of people don't want to believe. When prices go up, no one wants to believe it, but everyone's quick enough and happy enough to believe that 7 years the markets have gone down. So I'm happy for landlords. It's the first time, and property owners, they're talking about price increases since 2013. So it's good for the market.
Well, we do have some people agreeing with you, Lewis, messaging in and saying that they are getting more interest in rental than they have in a while. In the email you sent out yesterday, you made it clear that you were talking particularly about high-end villas and apartments, and I'm wondering who's taking them. Are they existing residents here in Dubai, or are they new residents, or even long-term visitors, lockdown dodgers, if you like, from other countries?
Lockdown dodgers. Yeah, it's a lot to do with landlords that are now selling. So what the common trend is, what's happening, a property is coming available and the tenants may be expiring, and there's 2 avenues. Sellers are saying, wow, my house is worth a lot more than it was, 25% more 6 months ago, and they're putting it up for sale and telling tenants to find new property. And this has literally just happened with a sale we've just done, where the tenants are calling, panicking for Victory Heights, saying, the landlord's kicking me out, and there's only 5 properties that are 5 beds in the whole market. What do I do? I'm paying 40,000 dirhams more. And that's the common trend. Either a seller's selling or the tenant's moving on. But what's happening, the tenant is no doubt about it paying more than in the villa market. So it's all that's happening. The market's moving. When people move, the market moves.
It sounds a bit stagnant to me, Lewis, though, I have to say, when you talk of only 5 villas. I mean, I just had a chat with Richard in the ad break, and even though, yes, the price of his own house has gone up, I mean, you mentioned there 25% on 6 months ago, it's still worth, sorry, Rich, completely throwing you under the bus here, still worth what he paid for it in...
2014, 2015...
So percentages are relevant, are relative, aren't they? I mean, it's gone up in value, but it's still what he paid for it, and therefore you'd be reluctant to sell.
Very, very true. That's why a lot of sellers are not moving at the moment, because they're saying, I'm going to hang on to it. But Richard is the only winner in the property market between a tenant and a landlord, because Richard hasn't paid rent in 10 years. So if Richard's sitting on that market, if he looks at how much money he's not spent in rent and put back into his own mortgage, I'm pretty much the same predicament as Richard. I bought my home in 2013 or 14, and I know that I've discharged nearly half of my mortgage, and the market's gone up and down. So being a landlord and a homeowner is definitely the winner in the market, in my opinion.
All right, Lewis, we're going to have to leave it there. We are out of time. Nice sparring with you, as always. Lewis Allsopp, CEO of Allsopp and Allsopp. Let us know your thoughts this morning. He reckons that some landlords are starting to get what they want in rent, particularly those who are renting out villas rather than apartments. Let us know your thoughts, let us know your feelings, let us know your experiences. 4001 or use the ARN Play app.
This is the Business Breakfast.
With Richard Dean, Brandy Scott and Tom Urquhart.
There's more coming up with Dubai Eye on 1.